Hey friends, welcome back to Faith to Impact. It's your host, Dustin Hill. Super good to have you here. Appreciate you tuning in, whether you're on the podcast, whether you're on social media, listening, watching. Great to have you here. And I'm excited to dive into, the 75 Hard Challenge. So if you haven't seen it floating around, the 75 Hard is a pretty hard challenge. That's what it's called. But it's this idea of doing something really hard for 75 days. And what it's been likened to is likened to, that's just like such a funny way to say that. So, but it's like reading the scriptures. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny. But yeah, so it's hard, and it's like a mental Ironman. That's what I've heard, like an Ironman for your brain. And so it sounds super amazing. And I know people that are doing it. I've got, friends doing it, other people on social media, they're doing it. And it sounds amazing. Sounds super fun. Like, well, okay, maybe not super fun, but at the same time, like this amazing experience, especially when I think of like an Ironman for the brain, I'm like, dude, that sounds awesome. That's a good way to brand that. And so I'm excited to be able to do it, but not yet. And so that's what I want to talk about, is like why I've chosen not to do it and why like it's helped me actually like feel really good about it. Because so a lot of if you're tuning into this every day, then you know that a couple weeks ago I made a big announcement, and I had a couple declarations that I said. Number one was losing 12 pounds by the middle of July. So making some progress there, excited about doing that. The other one is putting together an amazing community of 500 people by the end of the year called Faith to Impact Plus. And basically this idea of bringing together people that are really committed to following God. They're committed to being close to their family, and they're also committed to making a massive impact in the world. And so I'm super excited about these two things, and it's something that I constantly think about. And when I look at the 75 Hard Challenge, so what it is kind of breaking down, if you don't know already, is you do 2 45-minute workouts per day. So you do one that's out. One of them has to be outside. And then, you have to do 2 of those. Then you also have to drink a gallon of water. I do that every day. I'd always drink probably a gallon and a quarter or something like that. So I drink quite a bit of water. So that wouldn't be a problem for me. Working out, love working out. I think that's great and a worthy thing to do. You also read 10 pages a day. And then you also have no cheat meals, and you have like a specific diet that you follow. So you don't have to, there's no diet as part of the challenge, but you have to choose one that you're going to do. And I think that fits everything that's in the actual challenge. And which is super good. Oh yeah, no alcohol, so I don't do that either, so not a problem. But like when I looked at this and I was like, okay, that sounds super awesome. Like it would be awesome to go through that, to commit to do it for 75 days. And how the challenge works is if you mess up, then you just have to start over. So you just keep doing it until you succeed, which is pretty cool. But you have to start all the way over. So if you get 60 days in, then you got to start over at day 1 and go do that 75 days in a row, which again, I'm excited to do at some point, but I know that like what I said is like why I'm not doing it. Well, so why I'm not doing it is when I look at what I already declared for this year, what I said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose some weight. Hey, 75 hard would definitely help with that. That would help me get there. But then when I look at that and I say, okay, would the 75 hard challenge help me get to 500 members by the end of the year? And at this moment, I'm not 100% sure that it would. I know that it would help, my mental side of things. It would help me be tougher. It would help me in that way. And I do believe that it would help. But for me, it's all about the timing. I personally right now, I'm putting together these mini summits for Faith to Impact Plus and bringing together speakers. So I've got some process things to figure out, some tech stuff to figure out, and really like getting this going is really, really important for me. If I don't get it going right now and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this challenge, and then it's like kind of distracting from the other things that I'm doing, then that would be a bad thing for me. Like that's not the end of the year for me. Doesn't look like, hey, doing the 75 hard challenge. Now maybe that actually comes into play, and actually I could see myself starting that in maybe a month or 2. But when I look at it right now, I'm like, I have all these things to really get set up and get going. And once that's going and things are flowing, then maybe I think about doing that, and maybe I pull that in. But that's the reason that I decided not to do it right now. And again, that doesn't mean I'm not going to do it in the future, but I'm deciding not to do it right now. And one of the reasons I want to bring this up is the fact that when you make decisions decisions are so amazing, and it feels so good to make a decision and to commit to do it. I think that's one thing for me that's lacking throughout my life is I think just being hesitant to make a decision. That, if this was 5 to 10 years ago, I'd probably still be kind of wondering, oh, well, should I do a membership or should I not? Should I, lose some weight or not? Should I do this challenge or not? And kind of constantly analyzing this, constantly going through and trying to figure out, is this the right thing? I don't know, maybe not. Let's keep doing some research. Let's keep learning about it and deciding, but then never like making it happen and never having that time where you get to decide and then you get to have this moment where you don't have to think about it anymore. That's what's so good about, being firm on the things that you're doing and looking at, okay, 500 members for me by the end of the year in this amazing community. I'm super excited to be able to build this out. And to me, having that decision made, it's not now, okay, well, now I need to go figure out all of these other things in my business. Now I need to figure out everything else for the podcast, all these different things. It's like, that's the thing. And so everything else needs to fit in line with that. And so for me, like I mentioned, setting up this process, getting things flowing so that we can do these summits every single month and make them happen and it not be this thing that I'm trying to figure out throughout the entire year, but really setting that up and going forward. Is that, as I've made that decision, now it's so much easier. And another simple example of this too is for me, as far as like my diet goes and getting to my 12 pounds of like losing weight, is I've decided that I just want to have like one treat a week. So I like having, some ice cream or maybe some sort of treat. Amy brought me an amazing churro from Costco. Anyone else love those? Like, oh man, I love cinnamon sugar. It's just so good. And so she brought that on Monday. And so I had that on Monday. And now since I decided I'm just having one a week, I don't have to constantly be thinking about that anymore. And so, I could very well say, hey, I'm just not doing sugar either. And that would be just as good because it would be that making that decision and then not having to make it again in the future. And so that's what's so cool about making a decision. And that's why for me, again, with the 75 hard, I'm glad that I can make a decision not to do it right now. In the future, I'll look at that and say, hey, I really do want to do it at some point. So, I will do it at some point. But at this moment, it's not something that I want to commit to do because it doesn't fit with the other decisions that I've already made. And so again, it really is something that, making decisions can make such a difference. And so sometimes if you're struggling, you're stressed, you're not really sure what to do, sometimes you just need to actually make the decision. When you make the decision, everything else becomes clear. And I think it also, I'm sure there's some, reason behind this, like in our brains, but like when our brains finally decide, okay, that's what we're going to do, then it can stop like wondering, hey, should we go and do this? And that's, again, one of the powers of doing a declaration, of making an announcement to the world or to other people that, hey, this is what you're going to do. Because for me, that's what I've done. And I've said, okay, I'm going to lose 12 pounds. I'm going to have 500 people in this membership. And so now my brain knows this is reality. This is what's happening. And so it's going to go to work to help fulfill these things and help and do that. And so I'm really excited about being able to do that. And I see, it looks like we got Andrea on here and Elaine, which is awesome. Hey guys. And I, majorly modifying the 75 hard. That's super, super cool. And into the health and confidence version. So definitely awesome. And I see here too, Elaine saying, focus on what's important is a challenge in itself right now. Yeah, it's true. And so love the comments. Thanks so much for jumping on, you two. Great to hear from you. And, if you're on the podcast, would love to hear from you too. So, shoot me a DM. And this also, goes live on social media too every day. So thanks again so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're doing. Are you doing the 75 hard? Are you doing something different? What are the decisions that you're making? Because again, when we make that decision of what we're going to do, it really allows everything else to fall into place and allows us to then clear out the things that don't fit with that decision. And so that's the fun part of it. And I know it can be hard. I grew up in a family where we're going to dinner, and that's such a big deal every time because no one wants to decide. And then someone throws out a suggestion. It's like, oh no, we don't want to do that. But like, have you guys ever been in that where like, hey, we're all, deciding where do we want to go and what are we going to do and all this type of stuff. And everyone's just shooting it down, but no one's actually making a decision. But making that decision again can bring so much clarity and so much focus on what you're doing, because now you've decided that. Now everything else you can build around that, rather than trying to continually make decisions about what things you're going to do. But having those big decisions made already allows you to really focus that energy. So thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And we will